Okay, welcome back to another session where we are going to discuss sexual reproduction in plants. And before you start, we're going to take you through this second session is Mwalimu Mr. Victor. And here now we are going to discuss on sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction in plants. Reproduction in plants. When we talk of sexual reproduction, first, in a sexual reproduction, it involves the male and female gamete. This involves male and female gametes, or male and female nuclei. When we talk of male and female nuclei in plant, students, male nuclei is the pollen grain. While the female nuclei are the ovules. So when we talk of sexual reproduction in a plant, and we have said that it involves male and female nuclei, where we have the pollen grain and the ovules. When they fuse, when these are fused, they form a zygote. So, and when we talk of sexual reproduction, the reproductive structure in the higher plant is the flower. The structure is the flower. It's the flower. So basically, when we are talking of sexual reproduction in plants, we are going to base on the structure, which is the flower, because it is the flower that bears the staminate part of a flower, that is the male reproductive organ of a flower, and the pistillate part of a flower, or the gynoecium. Let's proceed to the structure of a flower. Let's proceed to the structure of a flower. Let's see on how the structure of a flower looks like. Let me draw it at the middle where you can all see it clearly. Let's see the reproductive structure in higher plant, which is the flower, and how it looks like. So I'm just drawing a reasonable diagram. So this is how it looks like, and I hope you can see it clearly. And inside here we have what we called the ovules. we have what we call the ovules. Then above it, we have what we call the style that holds the stigma. Then we have what we call the anther, held by the filament. Ovules. Then as we move up, we have the style, the style. The stigma. We have the stigma. And then on the other end, we have filament. We have filament. Then above the filament, we have a structure known as the anther. The structure known as the anther. And then we also have the petal. The petal. And we are forgetting a very important structure down here that are leaf-like. They are the leaflets, the green leaflets. They are known as the sepals. The sepals. Which structure are we forgetting in this flower? We have the pedicel, receptacle, sepal. Sepal. We have ovary, ovules that are found within the ovary. We have style. We have stigma. And when we talk of the stigma, style, ovary, and the ovules, these structures makes up the female part of a flower. They make up the female part of a flower, which means they make up the pistil or the gynoecium. The gynoecium. That is the female part of a flower. And on the other end, we have anther and filament. When we talk of anther and filament, these are the structures that makes up the male part of a flower, that which is the stamen or androecium, also known as androecium. So that is the structure of a flower. Being that we now know the structure of a flower and how it looks like, in various parts. What are the function of these structures of the flower? Let's discuss as we see the functions of these structures. Let's start with the pedicel, which is also known as the flower stalk. I know most of us have come across a flower and we have pinched them out from the branches where they are attached by the structure called the pedicel. So the pedicel is that structure of a flower that attach it to the branch of a plant, and it is that part of it is the part of a plant, no, not of a plant but of a flower, that supports the flower in position. It has a flower in position for pollination. So this is the part that supports the flower and hold it in position. And then above the pedicel we have the receptacle, which is found at the apex of the pedicel. I hope I'm audible enough. Yes. So we have receptacle. What is the function of the receptacle? Receptacle is that swollen part that is found at the apex of the pedicel, and it is the point of attachment of other floral parts like the ovary, style, filament, or you can just say and then above it we have the ovary. The ovary produces the ovules. Ovary produces the ovules. And when we talk of ovary, the ovules develop into seeds. That is the part of a flower that develops into seeds. And ovary, being that it bears the ovules, it is the part of the flower that developed into the fruit wall. It is the part of a flower that makes the fruit wall. And then when we move up to the style. And style during fertilization, because fertilization starts immediately after pollination. During fertilization, the pollen grain will be deposited in the stigma, to the stigma, where they stick due to where they will stick in the stigma due to the chemical that is secreted by the stigma cells. And they are also activated to germinate to pollen tube. So as the pollen tube grows down, it gets nutrients, the nutrients that is secreted by the style cells. So it provides nutrients during fertilization. And then we have another structure, which is the stigma. The stigma receives the pollen grain from the anther. are the floral parts that protect the flower before it bursts open. So it is the part that protects the flower before it bursts open. Then we also have another structure that is now the staminate part, where we have filament and the anther. What is the function of the anther? Anther is where the pollen grains are produced. And below it, we have the filament. Filament is the structure that holds the anther in position for pollination. So filament hold the anther in position for the production of the pollen grain during pollination. And then another structure is the petal. The petal is that brightly colored structure in a flower, very conspicuous. You can see it from far. Mostly you will find that they are red in color. Some flowers are white. Some of them are yellow. So that red part of a flower, yellow part of a flower, some of them are even white, is the petal. What's the function of that brightly colored structure? Is to attract insects. So that structure is to attract insects for pollination. So it is the part that attract insect for the insect pollination. I hope up to that part we are clear with the structures. Let me see the structure that we are leaving out. Yes, we are leaving one structure, which is called apicalyx. Apicalyx are those the leaf structures that are found below the sepal. They are called apicalyx. Apicalyx. We are forgetting that structure, the apicalyx. What is the function of apicalyx class? Apicalyx is for the protection of the flower. It also protects the flower before it bursts open, just like the sepal. And I hope up to that point we are at a good place before we proceed to the description of a flower and its floral parts. Description of a flower and its floral parts. We'll still use this. Here was the stigma. And I was forgetting something that I need to tell you, students, that when you are drawing biology diagrams, make sure the lines that are pointing the structures are not crossed, so you make them clear. And you will know that biology diagrams are drawn in pencils. And so you also have to take note on that. But before I move to the description of the flower and its floral parts, you can be asked to draw the female part of a flower. How will you handle that? It is not a must that you have to draw the whole part of a flower. Then you only label the pistil or the gynoecium part of a flower. Extract. Like you can be asked with a well-labeled diagram, draw a pistillate flower. You will just extract the female part of a flower. The female part of a flower. I'm drawing like that way for clarity. We'll just extract the female part of a flower, but with a pencil. So you have to use a pencil. If you use ink on a biology diagrams, even if your diagram is clear and well labeled, it will be automatically wrong. So you have to take note on that. So you draw the pencil. Draw a well-labeled diagram, then you name this part, stigma, you part, the ovary, then you label this part ovules. And if you are indicating it to be ovules, you have to show more than one ovule or ovum. But if it is just one, please just tell us that is the ovum, not ovules. If you write it to be ovules, this S show that they are in plural. So you have to indicate two this way. But if it is one, just write the ovule. So at this point, you have drew the pistillate part of a flower. Pistillate, opus double L, pistillate, or the gynoecium part of a flower. Then what if you are asked to draw the staminate part of a flower? Will you draw all flower? No, you will do the same, where you will just draw the male part of a flower, whereby here we have the anther, and we have filament. And within the anther, we have the pollen grain, the male nuclei, pollen grain. Then you get your marks. You get your clear marks. So let's proceed to the description of a flower and its floral parts. When you talk of the description of a flower, we have a complete flower. We also have incomplete flower. But the question is, what is this complete flower? And what is this incomplete flower? Talking again on the description, we are going to discuss on the unisexual flower and also bisexual flower. And the question is, what is this unisexual flower and what is this bisexual flower? We are also going to discuss on the staminate flower and the pistillate flower. In the question that you will ask yourself, what is this staminate flower and what is this pistillate flower? And again, when describing a flower, we are also going to discuss on the essential parts of a flower and non-essential parts of the flower. What are these? Another thing that we're going to discuss in the description of a flower is the solitary flower. What is a solitary flower? And again, the inflorescence, or you can call it a composite or compound flower. What are these compound flower or composite flower or inflorescence flower? Another description is the pedicellate flower. And then lastly, we are going to talk of irregular, that is also called zygomorphic, and also regular, the actinomorphic flower. So for that reason, let's start with the complete flower. Incomplete flower. I hope I can do away with this, because we have all studied it. We have all studied it. Okay. I know time is not on our side because we started late because of some inconveniences. So you'll just give me some 10 minutes, then we will be at a good place. So let's see description of a flower. I mean description of a flower and its floral parts. And its floral parts. And I have said, here we are going to talk of number one, Roman 1 is complete flower. Complete flower. What is this complete flower? When we talk of complete flower is a flower with all the 4 essential parts. Flower with all 4 essential parts. What are these 4 essential parts of a flower? We have the calyx. The 4 essential parts are like the calyx. Calyx are the collection of the sepals. We have the stamen. Stamen is the male part of a flower. Like all this is the stamen. The stamen. And then another essential part, which you can guess, is the pistil. And all this makes a pistil. And then another floral part is that brightly colored structure of a flower that attracts insects, that is called the petal. But here we'll call it the corolla, because the collection of the petals is referred to as the corolla. So a flower with all this, a flower with the calyx, stamen, pistil, and corolla is referred to as the complete flower. Then also have incomplete flower. Incomplete flower. What is this incomplete flower? And when is a flower referred to as incomplete flower? This a flower missing any of the floral part, of the essential parts. Any of the essential parts. So you can find that it is a flower with only the pistillate, part or the staminate. So it is a flower that can lack any of the four. And then 2, we have unisexual flower. What is a unisexual flower? Unisexual flower is that type of flower with either the pistillate or the staminate, or you can say it is either staminate flower or a pistillate flower. So it only bears one reproductive organ, either male or female. And when we talk of male or female, we talk of the stamen or the pistil. Then we have bisexual flower. Bisexual flower. What is this bisexual flower? Bisexual flower is that type of a flower with both the stamen and the pistil in the same flower. And then next, well, we're going to discuss, we have the staminate flower and pistillate flower. Pistillate flower. What is a staminate flower? Staminate flower is that type of a flower with only the male reproductive organ. It is a flower with only androecium. It is lacking gynoecium. And the pistillate flower lacks, let me write here, lacks. I have a duster with me, sorry. Staminate flower lacks gynoecium. While pistillate flower is that kind of a flower that lacks androecium. That type of flower that lacks androecium. We have the description. We have another description. We are going to talk of essential and non-essential flower. And we talk of non-essential parts of a flower. Sorry, I hope we are together. Essential parts of a flower and non-essential. Parts of a flower. Let me just have that. We talk of essential parts of a flower. Essential parts of a flower are those parts of a flower that are found in complete flower. Like here we talked of the calyx. The calyx, which are the collection of the sepals. And then we also have the stamen, which is the male part of a flower, which consists of anther and filament. And we also have pistil, the female part of a flower, that consists of the stigma, style, ovary, and the ovules. And then lastly, we have the brightly colored part, which is the collection. This is the collection of the petals. That is the collection of the petals. So essential parts of a flower are the four. Then you also have non-essential parts of a flower. These non-essential parts of a flower include, we can talk of those, we can talk of the sepals and the petals. But in most cases, or in most cases, you will find that the essential parts of a flower are pistil and the stamen. Pistil and the stamen. Well, non-essential parts, here we can also talk of the calyx and the corolla. Okay. Another description, we can talk of a pedicellate flower. What is a pedicellate flower? What is a pedicellate flower? This is a flower with flower stalk. A flower with flower stalk. That is a flower with a flower stalk. And then we also have a solitary flower. Solitary flower. What is a solitary flower? This is a type of a flower which occurs singly in a flower stalk. In a flower stalk. In a flower stalk. Okay, in a flower stalk. And then you also have the composite flower. Composite flower, or we can call it compound flower. So that is a kind of a flower consisting of many florets which are attached in the one flower stalk. And then lastly, we are going to discuss on the zygomorphic flower or irregular. Lastly, we are going to talk of irregular or zygomorphic flower. Zygomorphic flower and regular or actinomorphic flower. Actinomorphic flower. What is a zygomorphic flower? Zygomorphic flower is that type of a flower that can be divided into half in one plane. Like an example of that flower, we can talk of clotarari. Then we also have regular or actinomorphic flower. And when we talk of regular or actinomorphic flower, is that flower that can be divided into two equal halves along many planes. Along many planes. And that kind of a flower we can talk of, e.g. morning glory. I meant morning glory. Morning glory. Hope if I say morning glory, you know that kind of a flower. So class, due to time, in the next class, we will continue from there next time. And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. and I would love to see questions in the comment section. See you next, which will be on a Wednesday, together as one students.